Web Summit, Qatar, in association with CNBC TV 18.
We continue our coverage right here at the Web Summit in Qatar, and we've seen so many investors come here and big billion-dollar deals that have already occurred. And today I have with me Bhawna Bhatnagar, the founder of WeFounder Circle. Bhavna, thank you so much for joining us here at the summit.
Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Absolutely. And if you could start by telling us, what is the mood like out here for startups, for innovation? How do these kind of events actually promote entrepreneurship?
I mean, just look at around you. I mean, so many people. And this year, actually, the summit is way bigger than last year.
Right.
So I think one of the things that I love about conferences like these is that I get to meet startups that I would never ever get to meet, let's say, maybe in India, right? I think the kind of solutions, what's happening out there in the world, I think all of those things really help us as investors, because we want to know, what are the big breakthroughs, what to chase, what not to chase, how to help our startups. So I think it's incredible. And I think this year, everything is sort of bigger. The conference is bigger. I think investment opportunities here, the kind of investors I'm meeting, they're way bigger. So I'm thriving off the energy here.
So bigger and better, that's what it is. So, you said there are so many new solutions and exciting opportunities out here. So what sort of took your fancy out here? What did you think was the breakthrough solutions that you saw out here?
So I don't know if you've been hearing a lot about agentic AI.
Yes.
A lot of people have been talking about what's next in AI, or let's say, 1.5 years ago, it was all Gen AI and now it's going to be agentic. So what's going to be better, right? I have been particularly looking at emerging technologies because, again, I believe that it's one of the underfunded areas in Indian ecosystem. So deep tech startups, right?
Right.
Disaster management, climate tech, space tech, or even B2B SaaS. I think we understand, but what could be better? What could be different? I think those are the things that we are looking at.
And do you think agentic AI is the way forward? Like, what are the big opportunities you see there? And where is India when it comes to agentic AI?
Well, a couple of things. I think with AI, with DeepSeek, a lot of international media has been sort of putting India on spot.
Right.
That, guys, where are you? Where are your models? So I think what I want to see, and I think soon after DeepSeek, a lot of Indian entrepreneurs also launch their own initiatives. They want to build their AI labs. They want to build original models out there in India, knowing that the cost is not as big or huge as it was touted to be earlier.
That's what DeepSeek, I think, proved to everybody out here, right?
Exactly. So I think I'm excited for, what Indian entrepreneurs are going to do in India now, knowing that, there are cheaper options available, are cheaper ways of doing things. Besides that, I think with agentic AI, we're looking at consumers facing AI more as opposed to humans. So I think AI training humans is going to be something very interesting. And I think there would be increase in productivity leaps and bounds. So I think that's again something that we're looking at, what solutions or what industries would be disrupted first.
Right. And what do you think these industries will be that are disrupted first? And, how soon will it be in India when we see these things disrupting like various industries?
I think soon, honestly, before coming here, I was at an event at WeWork a couple of days ago, and one of the first guys who pitched me was like, okay, Bhavna, I want to build, agentic AI for this and this industry that I work in. And I was like, dude, too early to say that, but I really appreciate the sentiment, and I'll be very happy if you're able to actually do that. What we're looking at is insurance, we're looking at travel, we're looking at finance.
Right.
We're looking at more and more industries where I think some of the repeated tasks have been, there, and I think that could actually be removed completely from the process.
Right. And, specifically coming to India, right? What has investor appetite for Indian startups been like? Because how do you see 2025 to be? And what is also global investor appetite for India?
I think we've already seen how, sort of around COVID, there was a big jump in investments. 2020, 2021 was crazy. After that, there was a dip, and now it's sort of picking up.
Right.
I do feel that we will go in the same upward trajectory. There would be more investment. I think more at seed stage, there would be more interesting ideas that would get funding, especially now whenever there's a new buzzword in technology, there's always a jump in funding, to be very honest. More than that, I think the IPO market has been really good, right? Last year, I think almost 13 IPOs happened. And I think, again, the sentiment is that there are more options to take out liquidity. So whether it's IPO, SMA IPO, or it's secondaries market.
Yes.
Like I'm sure you would have read that, around 5 to 6 new secondary funds have come up.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. That just shows a very strong investor sentiment towards putting more money and taking more money out of the ecosystem.
Absolutely. And how do you see the IPO market for 2025? Considering the markets have corrected so much, do you think it'll be as good as the previous year?
I believe so. Honestly, last year was all about SME IPO and secondaries. I think I see similar trend, sort of, but a little bit more in numbers. So I think more IPOs this year. I am not sure about the SME IPO this time, if the numbers would be the same or more.
Right.
But definitely, I think the main board IPOs, I feel could be more in number.
All right. So you see the IPO market being you're bullish on it for
I'm
this year at
definitely
least.
bullish on it, yeah.
Coming to your portfolio, 35% of your portfolio is from companies that you back in tier 2 and beyond cities, right? If you could sort of give us, the Bharat opportunity in India, how big is this opportunity?
Recently, I'm sure you would have, you guys are in media, there was a big exit of a company called Minimalist, right? And
Yes.
they built it
Yes.
out of Jaipur.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, such stories are a huge boost of motivation to investors and founders, right? So you need not be in tier 1 cities or the big 4 cities or 5 cities to build anything of value and to have a great exit, right? So tier 2, tier 3 cities have been catching up over a period of time. The only caveat used to be that eventually for raising money,
Right.
all of those founders would have to move to tier 1 cities. Now I see that may not be necessary, After
Right.
all, I think we have seen the investor ecosystem also develop in tier 2, tier 3 towns. So, you don't really have to always go to Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore to get money. You can get money in Jaipur.
Yes.
You can get money in Indore. You can get money in Trivandrum. I mean, there are so many sources of money now. So I think that's what is exciting for us.
Yeah, it's very exciting when you talk about it. But if you could sort of tell us, which states are you seeing most of this innovation come from? Is it the South? Is it the West? Is it the East? Like, where are you seeing all this innovation come from the tier 2 and 3 beyond cities?
So we're looking at cities like Surat. We're looking at cities like Jaipur, Indore. We're looking at cities, many, many more cities in, I think, UP as well, where we see founders who are sort of preferring to sort of build from their hometowns and not
Right.
really, go to a tier 1 city nearby.
Absolutely. And what are the big ideas that are super exciting from these cities? If you could take us through, the big opportunities, what are the sectors that you're seeing most of the innovation come out of?
So since last year, we've seen a trend towards businesses, and I mean, as investors also, we're very bullish on businesses that are building off of distribution models, right? So we want people who can build distribution in tier 2, tier 3,
Right.
and then they can launch their businesses there. For example, I think there's so many startups working on bringing luxury products or certain type of consumer goods to tier 2, tier 3 cities through building distribution channels that, sort of never existed for them.
Yeah.
So I think any business that is bullish on building a new distribution model, I think we're very, very excited about that. And I think in general, I think these are the businesses that would sort of be winning over time.
Right.
Besides that, like I said, so many solutions in AI. Wherever there is a nascent industry where the data hasn't really been captured, I think those are the industries, again, that are always of interest. Plus emerging technology, like I think semiconductors, space tech, I think all of these industries have biotech, life
Right,
sciences,
right.
right? I mean, we've seen incredible ideas like people working on diagnostics or people working on detection of cancer, etc. I think all of these things they have a huge potential in India, and I'm happy that so many people now are working on it and thinking that these are the startups that can actually get funding and can get scale in India.
Right. And healthcare is a highly underserved, sort of a scope in India, right? So do you see AI playing a big role in boosting healthcare for the country?
For sure. I think healthcare, in fact, even when I spoke to investors here globally, so they look at India as a market that, of course, has scope for healthcare. However, there are some, I would say, original innovations that still sort of do not happen in India, but they can definitely be scaled in India, right?
Right.
So I think some of these robotic surgeries, drug delivery startups, you might not find them so much in India, but these India is a great market for all of these startups, right? So I think we are looking at India in terms of, let's say diagnostics, medical care, patient care. All of these are great areas where I think a lot of innovation can be done.
Absolutely. And sustainability is another key area that you look at as well, right? The EV ecosystem. Where do you think India is now on that front? Because we've been making a lot of progress, but it doesn't seem to, hit that ripe phase.
So we have invested a lot in EV. I mean, from OEMs to battery to, I think, battery life cycle. Now also recycling of batteries and how to be more sustainable about now that there's going to be increase in the use of EVs. I think India has been good on the adoption of EV overall. Now I think Tesla is also planning. I mean, they're sort of hiring here. So I think it's interesting to see people firstly being aware that there is need for adoption. That also sort of I think follows the trend that a lot of people have been very vocal and aware of the pollution and the whole issue with environment friendly, need of environment friendly products. Yeah, I think in EV definitely we see a scope. We see a lot of scope for solutions to, let's say, air pollution for that matter, like in Delhi, Bangalore, all of these cities. Water, land, filter solutions. So all of them have been there. But the problem is that sometimes some trend has to sort of pick up, for funding to go there. So I think that's, I believe it's going to happen this year.
So what is WeFounder Circle's, portfolio looking like right now? How much money are you looking to invest in this year?
So we typically invest in 3 to 4 startups every month, which means that
So what were the startups for this month?
Yeah, so I mean, this month we've actually done a couple of up rounds for our existing portfolio because, I mean, we are super bullish about, like I said, the liquidity markets, right? I know that a lot of founders want to, do their secondaries. They want to generate more cash through IPO. So just recently, before coming here, I was at the pre-IPO sort of a function of a portfolio called Garuda Aerospace. So they're one of the biggest players in drones and, so they did this huge thing with Dhoni and all of that. So the idea is that we're super, super bullish about, again, the up rounds or the future rounds of our companies this time. And plus, we are actually looking at B2B SaaS. We are looking at clean tech. We are looking at sustainability. Deep tech is huge focus for this year. I think that's where most of our money will go.
And how much are you looking to deploy in the India market?
I would say around 20 to 30 CR ideally.
20 to 30 CR. And you also are not just eyeing, tier 2 and 3 beyond markets, right? You're also looking at global expansion. So what are the big ideas that you're seeing around the world that is actually catching your fancy or giving India a run for its money?
Well, when it comes to funding startups globally, I think we have a couple of considerations in mind. Sometimes we prefer companies where we believe that India could serve as a great market for these startups. So that's one consideration. Otherwise, I think some technologies that we see are not in India at all. And I think we could probably have a bite in those rounds, right? So I think some of the emerging tech, like I think semiconductor is one area where we definitely want to, put money. I think we're also looking at, like, I think fashion tech, we're recycling or circular economy. Actually, we're looking at those as well. Yeah, I think broadly, these are the areas.
And which are the countries that are looking exciting?
So we've already invested in US, UAE, Singapore, UK. I think now we are looking at Saudi as well. We are looking at Australia. We are looking at, and I mean, in US, there's so many new things happening every time. So I mean, US again is going to be a big target for us.
Right. And 2024, we saw a little bit of trouble when it came to, sort of funding, in the funding environment. There was a lot of dry powder, but it wasn't being deployed to very many startups. Do you see that changing for this year? What's the outlook? What is WeFounder Circle looking at for 2025?
The famous, infamous funding winter.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're past that.
Yeah.
So the problem was that big rounds were not happening, right?
Correct.
So while we saw record-breaking IPOs, we didn't really see a lot of Series B. We didn't see a lot of Series C. Hopefully this year would be different.
Right.
I think a lot of startups have learned their lesson that, you have to have very solid milestones before you reach those big rounds. Right. And you have to sort of learn to also go global, right?
Yes.
I think both of those things would happen this year. And I see more of Series B and Series C happening as opposed to last year.
Yeah, because last year was all about the early stage. So this year you expect to see larger rounds and later stage
The
rounds.
mid-size rounds, I think.
The mid-size rounds.
We
And
believe
is that
there would be
also
more.
where you're looking to invest?
So we do mid-size rounds for our portfolio. Let's
Right.
see if we actually do it for newer companies where we were not initially invested.
And what's the exit strategy at WeFounder Circle?
So honestly, all of these things depend on the market, right? I mean,
Right.
we really are opportunistic and follow the larger market trends. So we have a couple of companies that are at pre-IPO stage.
Right.
We have a couple of companies that are looking at secondaries as well. So those two would be the major liquidity options in front of us. Otherwise, let's see, maybe M&As will pick up as well. Let's see.
M&As will pick up as well. So when it comes to 2025, where do you see most of your money being deployed? What is it going to be between the global markets in India?
Honestly, the world is coming to India, you know. So we would always be India first,
Right.
but we will keep looking for strategic investment globally
Right.
that sort of serves India in one or the other ways. So I would say the split should be 80-20, so 80 for India and 20% global.
So 2025 looking like a good year for India because everybody is coming to India.
Definitely, yeah, for sure.
That's good news for the Indian startup ecosystem. All right, Bhavna, thank you so much for joining us here at the studio in Qatar.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And with that, it's a wrap on this conversation, but we continue all of our coverage right here at the Web Summit in Qatar. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18.
Web Summit Qatar, in association with CNBC TV 18.